is it healthy to eat chocolate? Well, if you eat it once, fine. If you eat every day, well, gotta be a problem. So I think health is when you have something in moderation. I think that's health. Like when things are balanced, when things are in moderation, when things can be consistent, no extremism in any way. Very similar to Islam, bro. Like honestly, like that's why I really like this religion. Like it gives this framework and you can put it anywhere and it will still work.
You know, we're told like take care of 5 before 5. And one of those things that we are told to take care of is the health before we lose it, right? What we see nowadays is that amongst the Muslim community and even amongst some of the Muslim countries, obesity has become widespread. Like a lack of good health is really like something that is the kind of default position. And you know what? I was listening to a comment that was made the other day. It was like, why is it you have these kind of upper class Europeans who all do running early in the morning, always, you know, have health, very into the dieting, X, Y, Z. We as Muslims are just letting it go. All of the most unhealthy food, the ghees, the fats, the curries, the everything else, and we just indulge. And in fact, I was speaking to one brother the other day. I was like, bro, you need to include vegetables in your diet. He's like, I never eat vegetables. I'm like, you never eat vegetables? It's like, nah. Vegetables and fruit, I don't eat. So I guess today's topic is clearly outlined. We're going to talk about the health and the problems of obesity among the Muslim community. And for that, we have a very special guest. We have Simon Says Scott, right? Fitness fanatic. We have
the Big Belly Eliminator.
The Big Belly Eliminator. I like that one.
The Terminator.
The Terminator of the bellies, yeah? We also have Ismail, who's also into his health. Myself, I'm not quite there yet, but I used to be. But
yeah, mashallah.
I think let's kick it off, inshallah, specialist.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that. The thing you said about the European way of living and like how much they prioritize health. I think it's quite obvious why they do it. Because if you think about it, like most of these Europeans, they're not Muslims, right? Mostly atheists. So they don't really believe in a afterlife. They just believe in this life, right? So they'll do everything to become older, you know, and be healthier so they can, you know, use that time in this dunya as much as possible. I think it's like what I noticed when I became a Muslim, that way of thinking don't really exist among Muslims. It's like kind of the opposite. Like, don't care about dunya, bro. Like, it doesn't matter, like, oh, you're gonna go there and waste time in the gym. It's still just a bunch of fitna there, just women and music. Like, just let it go. And I'm thinking, like, the thing with health, like, it doesn't even start as a physical thing. It's a mental thing. It's a mindset thing. You need to have a certain kind of character, like you need to have certain traits and a character in order to take care of health. You need to be disciplined. You need to be consistent. You need to, you know, really go against your nafs a bunch of times. And these are qualities we need as Muslims. That's why, like, you know, that famous story. I don't know, like, if it's authentic or not, but the man who came to Umar ibn Khattab, you know, that one, like, who had a belly, and he was questioned by Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anhu, oh, what's this? Pointing at the belly. And the man said, oh, it's a blessing from Allah. And Umar said, no, that's a curse from Allah or something like this. But just like that idea of obesity is quite a new thing. Like, once you get a lot of wealth or get a lot, like, a good life, comfortable life, that's when, you know, you stop fighting against your nafs. You're not being consistent anymore, no discipline, nothing, just chilling, right? And that's like the opposite what we should do, right?
Yeah. I think it's become, we have a very sedentary lifestyle. You know, a lot of people work the whole day in an office maybe. They come home, they get lazy. I mean, we can all fall into that. But yeah, you feel like, get home tired, no time to work out. Whereas before, we know the Prophet ﷺ said that his chest and his stomach were like aligned, meaning there was no like protruding belly out, you know?
Right.
So that's ideally how we should be. And
what's interesting about that, sorry to inject, is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, he also said that eat enough to keep your back straight. So here he's also advising us to manage the eating. And we have another narration that mentions of like, third, third for the food, third for the air, third for the water, right?
So basically, in a nutshell, it's eating in moderation.
Exactly, eating in moderation. But like you said, is that, and I can testify to this. When you're in the office, you're sitting on the computer 9 hours straight, or not 9 hours straight, but you have a little breaks, but you use a little snack. I'll need a tea, I'll need a coffee, I'll have biscuit with that, I'll have a couple. You kind of get into this like habit of eating just because of the environment in which you're in. Do you understand me? And that environment is a very somewhat lazy environment. You're not moving a lot, right? And what happens is when you come home after a long day of work, you're exhausted, yeah? And to go to the gym now is like another whole mental challenge. Like, I just want to relax, to be honest. Because the way the life is nowadays, it's like we have pretty much 90%, no, that's a high number. Let's say about 60 to 70% of our life is consumed by work. From the traveling to work, to actually being at work, to traveling home. Especially in some countries we find ourselves in. If you look at the traffic in some certain parts of the world, you'll be in 1 hour to 2 hours worth of traffic before you even get home. So that means you're arriving home around 9 o'clock. That gives you how much window to go to sleep? Do you understand me? So are we saying like to stay healthy now is more of a mental game than it is a physical game?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's always a mental game, isn't it? Like, okay, we go back to their companions and that time. Well, like they didn't really have a choice. Like they had to go out and then get their food and get their rizq. We do the same thing. Like you said, we travel to work, but it's in a different way. Whereas, okay, we like if how do you say it? Like the kings of that time couldn't even imagine the things we have today, right? Like the availability of food, like
the
imagine
range, accessibility,
any season, any country, anything, bro. You can eat anything. Even if we go to my country, Sweden, like there are fruits that, probably my grandfather never seen before in his life, never knew it existed. Like dragon fruit, like this weird, right? With like alien fruit. So I think, sure, it's a mental game, but it's always been a mental game. It's just that we've been mentally weakened by everything.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like we're used to be like, just another bite. Because if you notice, like if you look at the older generation, it's like clockwork, waking up to Fajr, right? They can go to sleep 2 hours before Adhan al-Fajr. They wake up without an alarm clock and they go to the masjid and they do their thing.
And they're walking and I see some of the uncles in my area and sometimes I feel really embarrassed, man. Like they're walking and their backs arched, their knees are, and they're on a walking stick and he's just walking to the masjid.
Bro. I know my wife's grandmother, like if we talk about mobility, for example, like she was almost 100 and could still pray without a chair. Like she could go and do all these movements, right? Like because the body, it becomes what you do to it, like what you use it for. And the less you use it, the less it needs to be useful for you. So I think that's just the thing. We've just been very weakened. And I'm not saying I'm not one of them. We all have our, weaknesses mentally, mental blocks.
Excellent, yeah. So I think I want to ask a question to myself as well as you guys, that what should be considered, or what can we consider good health? When we were at school, we said eating 3 meals a day, 5 balanced, protein, nutrition, vitamins, minerals, all this stuff we're told, right? But what is real good health? What is the define? How do we define good health? What is it?
I mean,
I'm looking to you guys, by the way. You're a specialist in
Ismail, you got some.
Ismail, you got something for me, huh?
We pull out these awkward definitions. No, he's the fitness coach. He should be. He should be like, health is a definition coined by the term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Professor Hinkle Pinkle Chinkle.
The funny thing, I hate that term. Health and unhealthy. I really hate it.
Okay.
When people talk about healthy food, I have no idea. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like,
okay, so then give us some
bowl of salad.
Yeah, so give us some insight. What is really healthy living? What is it?
I mean, depends on the perspective, right? Because is it healthy to eat chocolate, Well, if you eat it once, fine. If you eat every day, well, got to be a problem. So I think health is, when you have something in moderation. I think that's health. Like when things are balanced, when things are in moderation, when things can be consistent, no extremism in any way. Very similar to Islam, bro. Like honestly, like that's why we really like this religion. Like it gives this framework, and you can put it anywhere, and it will still work. Remove all the Islamic rulings and everything. Just use the framework of moderation, balance. The middle way. You put it in fitness, you got the same thing. Often you see these fitness influencers, they're juicing up, they're using a bunch of different stuff, right? Is that healthy? You got this people eating raw liver, and is that healthy? I don't know. Like,
or guys pretending to eat raw liver, and they find out they're fake, and they're doing steroids.
Exactly.
Really, like when I think of this topic, I think of, obviously I always relate things back to my own self a little bit, and kind of like my own experiences. And like my grandfather, rahimahullah, was he was a bodybuilder, and he was he won a competition. I don't remember if it's Mr. Great Britain or Mr. what it was. I don't know, back in his day. And I noticed something about him and his diet is that it wasn't something special. It wasn't like protein shakes he was munching on the next one's there. It was none of that stuff. He always ate natural, healthy, wholesome food. And and I used to go around his house a lot because I used to love the food, and he would make these Caribbean dishes. One of them is, we call it boily. Basically what it is like a stew. And we have inside of there dumplings, hard dough dumplings, and we have like sweet potato, yam, potatoes, meat, vegetables. It's very tasty.
Yeah,
standard, right? Then you have other things. You have mackerel, mackerel with bakes, we call them.
Mackerel, the fish, right?
The fish, yeah. Bakes are like a fried dumpling. And he would have that for breakfast. We'd have fish. And if I look back at it now, I didn't see anything different in his diet, but still till when he was like 70 years old or plus, there was a dumbbell he had in his back garden, right? It's a big, massive cast iron one. Those ones like old school, right? It had a big bend in the middle of the bar, right? I remember I never was able to even lift it off the ground, like all of my childhood. My dad, he was also a bodybuilder. He used to train with a very famous bodybuilder as well. My dad used to be able to get it up, but he'd do like one or two. My granddad would get it up and just throw it up in front of him. So I used to think to myself, wow, what is it that, all these people telling me I need to do protein shake, I got to do this pre-game, and I look at it and say, my granddad did none of that.
But let me ask you a question, serious. Was he natty? Like he was natural?
Yeah, natural, yeah.
No juicing?
Not at all.
You sure?
Ever.
Okay.
Yeah. Same with my father. My father has a very big hate towards drugs or anything artificial. And what he would do is he would have milk, and he'll mix that milk with an egg, and then he'll drink it.
I did the old school.
Yeah.
Old school protein shake.
And he'll drink that. But again, we had at home, my mum would cook the food. It was nothing abnormal. But he trained very hard.
But bro, like, look at your granddad. Like, how long did he do it? Like, how long did he live that? Like,
up until he was unable to live it, I think.
So how many are we talking about? Decades, right?
Decades, yeah.
Yeah, how many? Like,
well, he was, I think, by the last time I saw him pick up those weights, he's about 70-something years old. Like,
and he started when? Like,
when he was a young teenager, man.
I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Well, like today we just like instant gratification. We don't have patience, bro. Like we see, natty 18-year-olds looking like this. Like, how many years could he have possibly had time to train to get those muscles naturally? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I posted it actually on Instagram that someone shared. It was like a picture, and it just said there something like, "I'm not impressed by 18-year-olds with a good physique. I'm impressed by a grown man with a full-time job, with a wife and kids, with all these responsibilities, who has a good physique."
True.
That's something.
100%.
Yeah, because it's very interesting, because there is a sense of when you're younger. I remember my metabolism was like, they consider it a fast metabolism. I ate 8 and I still had, very nice physique, and I used to skate. So skating naturally is
skateboarding.
Skateboarding and skating. Yeah,
like,
both.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, inline skate and skateboarding. But I used to skate on the ramps, so like aggressive skating, not just like out on the street. This takes a lot of body power, you know. So when I was young, this is like it's fun entertainment for me. So I had a good physique to some degree, and I was just eating junk.
Yeah.
So you kind of have that thing is when you're younger, it's easy to maintain a quote unquote healthy body physique. But the reality is that healthy in and of itself? And I think as what you mentioned, we should touch on is that health is about having a balance.
100%.
It's not going over the top.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would add to that is about health is also trying to stay away from those things that are unnatural as much as possible. We have hyper processed food. I think they call it a super processed food.
Yeah.
Which is just like,
it's fries.
It's just it's made in a factory and it's made
like,
with filled with
noodles.
Yeah.
Stuff
And that's another problem that kind of we can say is affecting health amongst us. Is that quick gratification, as we mentioned. Everything has to be fast food, everything very quick. We've become like impatient to go through the process.
And I think also like getting used to discomfort. Like I think most people, like especially non-Muslims, they don't know what hunger is. They have no idea what hunger is. Like the feeling you get after a meal, 6 hours after a meal, it's not hunger. That's not hunger. Like you get hungry. Like we know in Ramadan what hunger can be. But the funny thing about hunger in Ramadan, that's not real hunger. Like that's the hours we are out without food. That's usually like, if we look at the history of mankind, that was like the standard. Like the standard was like 1-2 meals a day, like 5 meals a day. That was how. Like how are you gonna get? You didn't have a fridge. You didn't you ate when you ate, right? And I think like that's another thing. You see now these water fasts. I saw a guy yesterday, like 21 days water fasting, no eating for 21 days. Like he lost like 15 kilos or something like that. Crazy, but it's like.
But surely when he starts to eat again, even slowly, that will come back on.
Of course, yeah, because like water fasting in that sense is not like lose weight. It's just like he did it because some detox stuff, So also like the goal of why you're doing it and stuff like that. But then I'm thinking like, okay, these cases of old women becoming like 120 years. They're drinking alcohol, smoking, and they ask them, what's their secret recipe to get old? A glass of wine every day with a cigarette, and and then you got someone smoking for 5 years and he dies. Yeah. So it's like, but at the end of the day, like these things are like, it's up to Allah, like how many years we're gonna get and how they're gonna be. And our responsibility is just like, okay, what are we doing with those within those years we are granted from Allah, right? And that's why the hadith, take care of your health before your sickness. You never know when the sickness comes. Like, is it after 10 years of unhealthy habits, or 20, or will they never come? You never know, right? But it's the responsibility of taking care of the health when you still got it, right? And I think it's like this famous quote of Imam Malik, that Imam Shafi, that health
is a crown that's only seen by those who don't have it.
Yes. No. And that's the thing, like take care of it while we still have it. I think that's easier.
So my question is like, how comes we see amongst the Muslim communities that one of the most unhealthy cuisines is like the cuisines that is very specific to Muslim mainly predominantly Muslim community? Why is it that we see this, that we have all these narrations, we see that we are supposed to be the balanced nation, wasat, and but yet we find that obesity is becoming a big problem in our societies. We find that health conditions and heart attacks are becoming much more amongst the Muslim community,
like diabetes
and all these high blood pressure. Why do you think this is occurring so much when we have all these? We have the tools, we have the foundation, we have the lessons, but yet we find that these are the outcomes.
I think definitely goes back to like many other things. We know what's there, but we're not following it. We're not implementing it. When you see how many Muslims don't pray properly, or how many Muslims don't avoid all these different sins, it's because they know they have the information there, but they're not implementing it. And this is the problem. Like just mentioning that no one's going to live forever, and then that hadith that says take advantage of 5 before 5. One of them is your health before your illness
Yeah.
or your youth. Both work.
Yeah.
Your youth before you become old.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, as you get older, you become less healthier, less able, less active, put it that way.
Yeah.
So this is a problem. We have all this information, like so many things we have in Islam, the guidance, but we don't take that guidance and we don't implement it and we don't use it. It's like you have a gift right in front of you, but you just don't take advantage of it.
That kind of like begs the question, do we realize that it's actually a gift, or do we realize that it's valuable? Because if you realize something is valuable, normally you aim towards it or will take it on board, right? If you knew that, you know, if you like, if I know that if I take this cup and I go put it on the shelf, I'm going to get $1,000. I'm going to do that, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? That's when it comes to health, it's not a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle, right? I think that's the issue. Because I've, you know, whenever I talk with some like potential client or clients, I always, the number one question is, okay, what's the goal, right? I want to lose 15 kg or 15 kilos or 30 pounds, whatever that is. Why? Why do I want to lose, right? Or because I want to have more energy. I want to this and that, look good, right? And then like, okay, what's stopping you? What's preventing you from doing it? Oh, I'm lazy, no motivation. And then you're like, okay, but let's say the thing you said, right? If you get $1 million, lose those 15 or 30 pounds, whatever, you get $1 million. Would you do it?
Yeah, bro, like no brainer, right?
Yeah, water fasting, 21 days. I think that's the thing. Like we like very materialistic attached. Like we just see the dunya in front of us, and that's the only thing. And we, like Ismail said, we know the things. We know that Allah sees us, but still we do all the sins. We know that, you know, there's a day of judgment, but still we do wrongdoings towards other people, towards ourselves. We know these things, but I think we're just so distracted and so, you know, again, weak-minded and not used to just feeling discomfort.
Yeah, the discomfort thing I think is really interesting is that when I remember when I got into quote unquote health, right? I started to go to the gym. Now I've seen my grandfather do it. I've seen my dad do it, and I wasn't that too interested in it too much. But I remember when I started going to the gym, and that discomfort I felt the first time is like, you know, I'm lying there, you can't open your arms because everything's tense, and it's quite rough, man. It's
that leg day, and you trying to go
you trying to
the bathroom, you're screaming.
It's rough, and it kind of, I don't know what pushed me through that rough stage, but I think at the time when I was doing it, I think it was because I wanted to kind of show people that I wasn't going to give up, you know, because I was going to gym with a bunch of guys who go gym, and to be honest with you, they're like, yeah, you can't lift, I can't remember, I think it was 100 kg, and I was like, 100 kg, I definitely can. And they put the bar on, and I dropped up my chest. So I wanted to prove a point. Do you understand me? So I think that was my motivation. But I think what you've said is that we all lack a sense of motivation for when the going gets tough, because we're so used to getting things easily accessible and without any hassle. You know, I call it the Amazon Prime culture, right? Yeah, which is you get it the next day. Yeah. If I don't like it,
day
even
I don't
same
know
day.
how they do it.
Yeah. Same day
delivery.
And if I don't like it, I raise a request and it's taken back automatically the next day. Like it's like kind of quick in and out kind of attitude. Like, you know, everything is so easy and accessible. And the reality is it takes hard work, discipline and focus to remain healthy.
That's another thing, isn't it? We've become accustomed to this. As you mentioned earlier, everything is just there. Instant gratification. Instant video, we want this, YouTube, Google, ordering food, whatever it is, everything's just there straight away. And we don't want to watch long lectures anymore. We want a 1 minute reel.
Exactly,
We don't want to do this anymore. We want this. So there's the same thing. Oh, I've been doing it for a month. Nothing changes. Where's my bicep? Oh, and then that's it. They give it up. Give up on it.
And then you see like the what's called the generation after the companions, right? When they start collecting the hadith. Yani, they're writing for 3 months for one hadith, you know, 3 months. Like, That's a long time, bro.
You know,
It's
like
long.
if you look at some of the Salafis you mentioned, like a lot of them had 1,000 teachers. Why they have 1,000 teachers? Because they had to travel around different locations to find these different hadith.
Yeah.
Because they were with different people, because we didn't have this sense of everything's uploaded and transmitted instantaneously.
Yeah.
I had to go and search for it. And I remember saying to one of my colleagues, like, you know, I've got this teacher, that teacher, and he was like, you got so many teachers. Like, why you got so many teachers? He said it like a negative thing. Yeah. And I was like, but when I read the biographies of those who come before us, they had many teachers. Because you don't just take knowledge from someone, you take their etiquettes, their manners, their way of thinking, you take from them as well, right? And that's really, I think, what's so profound is the point of what you both mentioned, is that we want to see results now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my teacher would say to me, it's we have another type of phrase, you know, I get them all from him, called the microwave culture. Put it in, ding, and I want it now. You know, I put my biceps on, I want to see biceps. You know, I want one curl and I want to see khalas. So I've got, you know. And I remember this, like, going to the gym with one guy, and he was taking steroids, to be honest. And he was like looking at me, and he was like, oh, you know, we were having this kind of back and forward. It's like, he's been going gym for like a few months. I've been going for a few years. And he was like, you know, getting pumped up. And it's like, yeah, look at my pump. And next one said, but he couldn't lift the same weight as me. Do you understand me? So it was like, he was always feeling a kind of competition kind of thing. But I was always trying to stress to him is that this took long time for me to get here, and a lot of hard work. It wasn't just like overnight I took a certain pill and then all of a sudden I got muscles. It took a really long time, and it took a really long, and I think that's what's really wrong with the society nowadays. We're not in it for the long game, and that's why we see, let's talk about fitness and good health. What about mental health as well? Yeah. Do you understand me? Like, mental health issues are on the rise, and I think there's been a spike in the last years of, like, you know, like almost 150% growth, because we're not in it for the long game anymore. Everything is fast.
One really interesting thing is like the difference between a man and a woman, or the men and the women. Like when I talk with clients, or, you know, the difference why they are unhealthy or out of shape. You know, often I heard this quote a few days back about the man, like, if you want to kill a man's dreams or potential, give him comfort. If you want to give him fuel for those dreams, give him pain. Right? So that's like how men works. We need pain. We need, like, you know, we won't
outside
do
the comfort zone, kind of. Outside of the box.
Yeah, exactly. We need something to push us, really push us. And if we don't have anything, like, you know, these Muslim brothers, when they have a date for their nikah, they get in shape really fast, bro.
I did it as well, I'm not gonna lie. I did jogging around the block a few push-ups.
Yeah, bro. They are the most ambitious people at the gym, bro. You can see the bench press. If you go like this, his nikah is soon, bro.
Sahih.
As soon as the nikah is done, bro, it's done. And then when you look at the women, it's usually like something related to mental health, or you know, they're feeling invalidated, and they try to you know, comfort themselves through those means. That's why we see, like the Prophet ﷺ said, take care of your women. So, like, when women doesn't feel like they're taken care of, you usually see these mental health disorders, and you know, they become unhealthy with their bodies and stuff like this. And now, obviously, for women, it's this whole other thing, right? They get pregnant, which kind of change their bodies, like like permanently, right? So I think it's also an important thing. That's why I hate terms like healthy, unhealthy, bad, good, because it makes this subject very, you know, gray area subject into a black and white subject.
Do you think it's also to do with perception as well? You think that the perceptions are being, like, you know, warped, you know? I watched some guy on I'm not really into watching Instagram stuff, but I saw a post where the guy was saying, look at me now. I look like, you know, my stomach is out. But if I suck in, stand like that, and I look now much more fitter, and I make my post like that. Yeah. So you now on the other end receiving it are like, wow, this guy's he's the one, right? But once he lets it all go down, it's like normal human being. And I think that women, as you mentioned, and men are different in terms of their you know, thought processes. But women see other women who are like perfect images of what a woman should be, according to them, on social media, so doing their posts and doing the kick fit and X, Y, and Z, and they look at themselves and say, "That's not me."
Yeah.
And they kind of have that kind of state of despair, or, you know, like, you know, and then on the other hand, you can, if you take that same, you know, issue, you have men that see that, inshallah, not Muslim men and not people who are, you know, have good morals and manners, but will see those women like that, and then they make their perception of how their wife should be, and it's non-realistic.
Yeah, of course.
And that kind of unbalances the whole world, and it kind of puts it into that black and white, as you said. That who said this is actually healthy, and who said that's not healthy? Who said that the woman who's had now 5 kids and she's still in good shape, you know, is not healthy, as opposed to the woman who's never had a child and she's like, you know, however, and vice versa, both for the men.
Yeah.
And I think this is really important, because it's like, it's relative to you as a person. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, if I take mine, I can't have dairy products very much. You know, if I have milk, I have to have a very small amount. So that means, you know, I have soya based or coconut based things, right? So for me, I have to take care of my health in a different way by monitoring what I eat and how I eat because of certain conditions.
Yeah.
Where someone else can have dairy products, no problem. So it's very much geared up on the specific person as well, how they're living. But then there's that kind of element which is like, okay, the unbalanced perspective, which is that I'm not going to take into consideration how I should live, and I'm not going to take into consideration the general standard of how we should live, and I'm just going to do everything in excess, you know? And I think that's really a big problem that we see. And, you know, when I try to speak to some of my family members about, you know, health, for example, my grandmother, she came to my house and she stayed with me, and I'm big on healthy eating and things like that. And I fed her the food that we normally have, which is fresh juices, like vegetables, and we juice it ourselves, and, you know, things like that. And her health improved. So when she went back, other family members saying, "What was she doing there? You know, her health has improved." I said, "We just cut out all the fizzy, you know, and we gave this food." So they tried to implement it themselves. And what happened is they gave up because they're like, it's very long to juice your own juices, to get the higher quality food. It's very, you know, it's too much headache. And I think that comes back to the point of what we're saying, is that instant gratification. We want to see results now. Yeah. You know, and I explained to that family member that when I changed my diet for the first week or so, my belly was upset because it's now changing the you know, the chemical reactions and everything's changing. I don't know the terminologies for it, but the bio, they call it, right? The bio probiotics, all changing in my stomach. And after that week, it became good again. But she was like, "Oh no, as soon as I started eating this food, my belly started to hurt. I don't want to part with it." I said, "It's going to hurt for a while because you're used to eating these foods which are really high in fat and salt. Now you're changing it for minerals, X, Y, and Z. It's going to have a bit of a confusion." Right. But anyway, the end of the point I'm bringing that to the table is that they also gave up because it's just too long of a process. Yeah, that's why it's a mental game. Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask, is how can we become more mentally driven, mentally focused on living a better environment as Muslims, as people who believe that this body was given to us by God the Almighty for a limited time period and we're supposed to take care of it. How can we reignite the flame of thinking about health in a positive manner and being more disciplined about it? Yes, Camille. We're going to let Ismail jump on this one. Jump in, bro. Go, bro.
It was all about consistency. Better to do something small regularly than to do nothing. And what I've started to do is, there may be a day that I said I'll go to the gym in the morning. I didn't get up, you know, I went back to sleep after Fajr. I didn't get up as early as I wanted. I've got to get to the office. I go home. I know if I go to the gym now, it's very busy, noisy, blasting the music. In the mornings, they don't do that. I said to myself, you know what? I don't want to go. What I would do before is I would just, that's it, nothing's done. Now I say to myself, I have a treadmill right in my house. Let me do some treadmill. I have barbells. I have dumbbells. I can still give myself a very nice bicep workout, back workout. So I started doing that. So I said to myself, is it as good as a gym? There's probably some lacking machines. I don't have a lat pull down. I don't have the machines for my legs. If I don't want to do a squat, maybe I have an injury in my knee, so squats hurt. I can't do the extensions. I can't do the curls. I can't do the calf, but I can hold a barbell. I can do calf raises. So I started doing that rather than doing nothing at all. Whereas before I would say, "Oh, I'll go to the gym tomorrow." Then the next day may come, but I couldn't go to the gym, so I missed 2 days. So it's about being consistent. And as Brother Simon will mention in a previous episode we did on another show somewhere. He mentioned, the fact that Prophet ﷺ said when it comes to good deeds that, Allah loves deeds that are consistent, even if they're little.
Yeah.
So he was saying, SubhanAllah, we can kind of connect to Islam. Even to fitness. Do things consistently, even if it's less. So anyone will tell you, and that's what a lot of people do. Just like that guy who gets up and says, my mind is feeling good. He starts to wake up for tahajjud for 1 week, and then he stops it forever. So what's better for him? Pray witr every night.
Yep.
Or he said, I already pray witr. Okay, before you pray witr, do 2 extra rak'ah right before you go to bed. That's better than for you to wake up for 1 or 2 months of tahajjud and then completely stop it. Just like the guy who goes to the gym, he gets really excited.
Nikah.
Then he
Get married. She needs to see me in a good way,
and then he stops.
Summer's coming. We have this trend in UK. It's like summer's coming.
The summer bod or something.
The summer
Not the
bod.
winter's coming.
No. Summer's coming. And you need to go look at
Sweden.
Yeah. So they get ready for summer. Like, doing the press ups.
I don't know if that was good Swedish, but it was a good try.
It was good enough.
Good, huh?
Not really, but yeah. No.
But it's like, that is such a good point. Consistency, and I think that we are a nation nowadays, as we reiterate and repoint out, that instant gratification or the results we have to see, especially growing up in the West, we're all everything is about results driven. We do this, we get this.
Exactly.
We do this, we do this. We get that, we do this. We do GCSEs, we get this. We go university, we get that. Everything's results driven. But whereas not everything in life is the result you're going to see now.
100%.
How many legacies have left behind that they didn't even know was going to be a legacy until they left this world?
SubhanAllah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? So, how many books have been written, by great scholars that may have just been a passing work they did. That now we're all like, whoa, this book is something.
We imagine them like, whoa, great scholars. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
But back in those days, regular guy.
Exactly. So
maybe,
we have to kind of look at legacy work, which is that what's going to happen 10 years down the line, not just now.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? Like, for example, my grandfather, when he got to the age, I don't know how old he was, to be honest, but he had all of his teeth.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was very well, he still looked good, and it was like, because of the way he lived his life back, he took care of what is going to come later, right? And we learn this concept in Islam that we take care of things before they get to a certain situation.
Prevention is better than the cure.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm kind of like talking from my own perspective here, because I kind of was one of those kids that didn't really take care of my health when I was younger. I did crazy things. I did stunts that you wouldn't even, it's just like a rational, sane mind would say, this is going to end badly, but I did it and we had fun and I went to hospital and I came out and it was like, but now I'm dealing with these consequences, my back isn't the same as it was then because all of the way I put through. So we kind of have to look at it from the perspective of legacy. How am I going to be able to, now we don't know, because obviously God, the Almighty Allah, has limited our lifespan on this earth, but am I going to be able to play with my grandchildren?
Yeah.
Or am I going to be stuck in a chair because I didn't abuse my health? Am I even going to make it because at the end of the day, I ate so badly or I took, I abused my health that it prevented my, longevity of my life, for example. So kind of like, that's kind of the message, is that we have to think further than the moments we're in.
I always talk, you mentioned a really nice thing. This is something I always talk about with the clients is, okay, you have result-orientated thinking, right? And process-orientated thinking. If you think about it, Islam is a combination of both. What's the result-orientated thinking? Well, there's they have judgment.
They have judgment. There's
a Jannah, there's a Jahannam. There is something that's going to be on the other side. But where do you put the focus? Like, where's where is the energy? Where do you put the energy? Do you sit in a room and think about Jannah and just hope?
You put the energy into the actions. The effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to balance those two things, right? It's very like I have so many quotes, but this famous like Warren Buffett, the guy who invests very famously. He talked about like when he invests in something, and he's famous for this longevity thing about investing and stuff like this. And he says like, okay, what you got to do, just you buy a stock or whatever, and then you put it in the drawer and open the drawer after 10 years. It's a very like, and I usually say the same thing. It's like, if you cannot imagine, let's say now you're going to change your life, become healthy, right? Let's say you draw out, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I ask you, okay, Shahid, the things you've drawn out here, the plan, the gym workout or whatever you're going to do, the count calories, right? Can you imagine yourself doing this for a decade nonstop? Can you imagine this? Is this conceivable for you? And if you say no, then I say to you, don't even do it for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you cannot do it for a decade, don't even do it for a day.
Yeah.
And that's the process way of thinking. You gotta, like you said, you gotta think long term.
You know what? I'm smiling because it reminds me of a narration of one of the companions. I can't remember the companion's name, where he was fasting a lot and he would pray a lot. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned to him that he should slow down a little bit. In the end, he agreed to do the fast of Dawood, which is the fasting on one day, break one day, fasting one day, right?
Yeah.
And there's a famous companion, one of the 10 promised paradise. He said when he got to an older age, he goes, I wish I took the advice of the Prophet.
Oh, yeah. I forgot as well. But
yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, because he's like, I couldn't keep up with this my whole life. You understand me? Even though he did. But he said, now I'm old and it's getting hard. I wish I took his advice.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
And the reality is like that. And like you said, the religion fits into whatever you put it in.
100%.
If you can't keep it up for the remainder of your life, don't do it at all.
No.
Do you understand me? Because the reality is how many, and I have myself to hold to account, how many failed projects because I went in with full zeal and hirs and I'm like, full speed ahead, go, I'm going to do it. And then fizzles out.
Yeah.
Because the reality is I wasn't able to maintain it, you know? And we have to kind of be more honest, I think, with ourselves. And, you know, a person walking 5 minutes a day for the rest of his life to improve his level of fitness is quite manageable. But that 5 steps a day is going to do more for him if he went to the gym and ran on a treadmill for 5 hours, for example, and then gave it up after a month.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And that's the real, I think what I'm taking away from this episode, which is inspiring me, is that I need to look at the effort as opposed to the results. You know, be more focused on the effort instead of the results I'm getting from that effort, as well as the fact that small and consistent, wins the race.
Yes.
You know, that turtle and the hare kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know? The hare's, but the turtle's like, yo, I'm just taking my time. I'm going to get to the finish line, sir.
Funny enough, you mentioned that. Years back, I did like a half marathon with my brother, which is like 25 kilometers, right? And he lives in Wales, so it was a Cardiff one. This was maybe 2004. And so I miscalculated the final lap. So I start doing some like I start kicking it, and my brother, but he wasn't able to keep up by then. So I'm thinking that's it, it's one more lap. So it kind of served me right. One for leaving my brother behind. And trying to be like, I'm going to end up on some like, you know, like some really thing, macho man kind of. And then I got to the thing where I thought it was the end and it was like one more lap. So I'm like this. So I didn't stop, but my brother then caught up with me and he's having to say like, come on, because I've fizzled out right at the end, right?
I was about to ask before you told the story, are you the turtle or the hare? But we got the answer here.
So now you know, right? I was the hare, and in the end, people who were slower than me ended up catching up because I'd fizzed out by going too fast.
Oh, man. Typical Ismail behavior, man.
You know, and do you know, bringing it back to fitness, and I just find that really funny because I'm thinking of many incidents that happened to me, but bringing it back to fitness, I remember when I was in one gym, right? And I used to train with this young African lad. He had a very good physique, okay?
Inshallah.
And he was training And like there's this one other guy, he was like really jealous and really, he's like, what do you do? Why, like you must be taking something. What are you taking? What are you eating? And he's like, I haven't changed anything in my life. I just consistently every day do this. And he does like a full body workout every day. He does all his muscle groups. Every day, but very small bursts. And that's how I started to train. Like 20 minutes, he'll go in the gym, bam. Do every single...
This is nice. Yeah. This is what I usually do. I love it.
Yeah. Do every single muscle group.
But then he must do like each muscle group one exercise because you can't do...
1, 2.
No, he'd do what's called...
20 minutes?
Give me, not 20 minutes, maybe a bit more. What's it called?
Push and pull?
No. It's... You basically don't have a rest between sets.
Yeah, superset.
Supersets. That's it. Everything was superset. Boom. Put the bar up. Boom. Put the bar up. Boom. And everything was like that. Every single exercise we did was like that. And then by the 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long it took, go in the sauna, sit in the sauna for 10, 15 minutes, stretch my muscles out, come back and do it again the next day. And funnily enough, my granddad said to me, this is the actual way to really build muscle. Because muscle builds when you destroy it and it grows. Destroy, real growth, right? So you're actually pushing your muscles past that, what do you call it? That
threshold?
Threshold. Yeah, pushing it past its threshold every single day. And it's growing, it's more and more and more. And I really took a real valuable lesson from this guy, like short, small, consistent every day. And he was very good physique. And I think that was my personal best. I was going to ask you guys what your personal best was. My personal best was in that period. I was training with him. I got to 13.8 kg, 14% body fat.
My best time.
Wait, say it again.
So I got to like almost 14 stone.
Stone.
Yeah, stone, right? Yeah, stone, yeah. I don't know.
Swedish, well, you don't use stones, bro.
What's kg? I don't know.
I don't even know right now.
I don't even know, bro.
14 stones. 1 stone is 6 kg, right?
So I was 13.8
so
stone.
80 kg?
Something like that. 40% body fat. 14.
14, nice.
My best time was when I was very actively doing jiu-jitsu, like every single day.
Yeah.
For like a period of 2 or 3.
When you were 12 years old?
No. This was right up until when COVID kicked in.
2 months before the nikah.
No, wait, my nikah was a long time back. So I was doing it for like 2 or 3 years, like pretty much consistently. And that was the best time because I was then I was never more than 78, 79 kgs. Now I'm like 91 or 2.
Wow.
Mashallah. Welcome to the 90 gang, bro.
So that was nice because that is every day you go in there, you're warming up, so you're doing physical kind of aerobic-y kind of workouts. Yeah. Then you're physically wrestling, grappling with people for like an hour non-stop.
Yeah.
Oof. Need to get back into that, man.
What's your best?
Like physique?
Not physique, but like your best. Because I'm talking about not only just my physique, my state of health was really good at that point as well.
I don't know, man. Probably like the thing is when I came here to Dubai, like my steps went like downhill, man. Like in Sweden, I easily like walk 15,000 steps a day. Here's like barely 5,000. Bro, the car everywhere, AC. But I think it was in Sweden, I was like 90, 92, 93, 13% body fat, something. Yeah. But the thing is like, you want to have something maintainable, sustainable, right? Yeah. So getting below that is going to be really hard. Single digits, like without the juice, right?
Exactly.
Can't eat anything, right?
Yeah. That was like, for me, I was in that situation, but there was something else that was noticeable about that period of my life. And I'm hoping one day, if I can, with the good inspiration, maybe I'm inspired now to get back into.
Listen to this episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually like, when I'm talking about it, I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people
especially about the
who say that, which they don't do, But I changed the focus on why I was training. It wasn't about the muscles in the gym anymore. It was all exercises for actual physical strength. Like
performance.
Yeah, performance. Yes. Exactly. So we worked muscle groups that normally you wouldn't work. Yeah. And we did different type of exercises and I started to do like, the aerobics class, 1,000 sit-ups,
Mashallah.
Ridiculous, like kind of,
like David Goggins style. Man.
Yeah, but they're not like just straight sit-ups. It's like different things, 10 minutes,
Huh? Who's going to carry the boats on the logs?
Who?
That's David Goggins' famous quote. Who's going to carry the logs?
Ah.
Who's going to carry the boats?
But I don't listen to that guy. He swears too much, man.
I've just
I
seen
think
it.
it's just crazy.
I've seen these things pop up. I've never actually watched anything in detail, but that's a famous thing that always pops up. Who's going to carry the logs? Who's going to carry the boats?
I only know this one. Oh, you don't know me.
Oh, you don't know me, son.
You don't know me, son.
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well.
I don't know. You lost me there. But I think one of the things is that, as we're saying, change your focus.
Yeah.
And that's what will give you the... And I remember something that we took recently in one of our classes, that why did Allah Azza wa Jal, or God the Almighty Allah, mention to us rewards for deeds? You know? You know, why is it? And I remember the teacher saying, basically, there's two main reasons, right? One is motivation and one is for sincerity. Because the only one who can give you that reward is God the Almighty Allah. And it motivates you to get that reward by doing it, right? So we know that, for example, there's this action, we get that reward. Okay, so now it's motivation for me. I want to do it, right? And then the one who I'm doing it for, I know can give me this reward outcome. So we need kind of one motivation, and we need that thing that's going to keep us consistent, right? And that's why I mentioned that in my journey, when I changed that focus, it gave me motivation. It gave me that sense of, you know, consistency, you know, because the reality was, it wasn't for just the gym, the t-shirt in the summer. It was actually to improve my overall performance as a human being. You know, I was working in building, you know, I was coming home aching, you know, I couldn't really do certain things. So I train different muscle groups, because when I'm pulling the bucket of, you know, cement, I'm using a different muscle. It's not the same exercise as the guy who does that in the gym. Do you understand me? So that really helped me. And I think that can really help anyone who's listening to change their motivation, their focus. I don't eat vegetables, but let me try to do that, because I know that, you know, it's good for my life in this life and the life in the hereafter.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So I think that's a
wrap.
That's a wrap. And there you have it. So I hope you've been inspired to make a change today. Don't let what's in front of you stop you from what's going to come in the future. We all have an opportunity. We just need to make the right intention, have the right drive, the right focus, and remain consistent, even if it's small. Don't let the society around you fool you to think that you have to have big gains, or you have to be someone who things are happening to him right there and then. No. Look for longevity.